It's time for AfroEconomics Live. Financial freedom. Listening to Pharrell's song Freedom. Yes, indeed. Make it free. Make it free. Make it free. Wow. Extreme. National Weather Service tornado warning right in my area. I'm feeling some crazy wind. Y'all know if something happens to me, we go down. What went down? That was no joke. Did you hear that? I was like, this wind is really blowing. Like I could see trees in front of me at the window and there. Sounds like cars going by, but it's trees swaying. Whoa. It's good to be safe. I hope you're safe too. Indeed. Stone Mountain, Georgia probably can't feel that wind. You can't feel that wind over there. Contracts. You know, it's funny. People don't really think about contracts the way that we should. You know, and I'm so glad that I found this survey. There was a survey done, a new survey, and I want to bring us stuff as much as possible when it comes to my attention. I want to make sure that I share it with you. A new survey found that 73% of consumers, 68% of knowledge workers, and 91% of small business owners in the US work with contracts, deal with contracts, sign contracts, look at contracts at least one time a month. Isn't that something? It's windy there too. Yeah. So we're touching a lot of contracts, and are we reading the contracts, right? So the question is, how often do you actually read or understand every word before signing that contract, clicking that agree button? And according to the survey, it's not often that the contracts are read or understood. So if you have been clicking agree and not really reading what you're clicking agree to, no, you're not alone. A whole bunch, 73% might be doing that. So we found that in the survey that contracts, they discovered through the survey that contracts are everyday part of work and personal lives for many, many people. Many people are signing contracts without knowing what's in the contract. Oh my. Yeah. Are you reading the fine print? In the contract, it's all fine print. It's all fine print. A lot of times a fine print could just be something that's on the bottom of the website. You didn't sign, but you kind of did, because I guess when you click to go in there, you had contracts for a living. Come on, C. Williams. People do not read. Isn't that something? We got a living witness. We got a contract creator. People do not read. Oh my goodness. It's true. Like, you know, some of you may not know, but I am completing. I'm speaking with affirmation. I'm gonna put God in it. I am completing my PhD program in 21st century finance before 21st century finishes. Right, I'll finish this thing. But Miss Williams, what I discovered is I don't read enough. I got into this habit of skimming. We think we can skim our way through, and we can't. We cannot skim our way through. I encourage you. I mean, and I'm gonna humbly tell you why. I know I don't read enough. because for some reason, like I'll take a class and sometimes I'll have to take that class again. We're not going to say that it was a failure. We just say that I have to take the class again, right? So, and I take the class again. And then when you take it again, then all of a sudden you decide you're going to read this time. And then I read, especially with technology, it reads, it can hide. Technology, I don't know, Miss Williams. Yeah, thank you. You're speaking faith. You're speaking faith. She said, congrats. Think confidently. Wow, yeah. You teach your offspring to read. Yeah. Because like I realize like there's like instructions to each thing. There's instructions to the instructions, but there's something called a rubric. And the rubric says basically it tells you what AI is looking for in your particular, there's a lot of stuff. I don't know if they're really reading it. I don't know if the professor's really reading it. They probably put it through the scan machine. And I have to have addressed these things. But if you don't read what you should have addressed, then I'm not going to get it right. And then I realized like there is so much stuff that's hidden from us. Of course, I can blame it on somebody else, that somebody else should make sure that I see that and blah, blah, blah. And they should point it out, this and that. But all they have to do is make it available to us. And we just have to make sure that we're accountable and we go, oops, you got me. My bad. You got me. You got me with that one, but I'm going to read and you won't get me again. You say, fool me once, but don't let them fool you twice. I don't know how exactly it goes, but read because it's there, and click behind and click through, and more details here, rubric instructions here, this and it here. Take our time. Often we're wasting our time on things that don't matter and not taking the time for the things that do matter, right? Looking very detailed oriented. I could tell you all the details on one of my crime documentaries. I can tell you exactly what happened, what was presented in court, and this and that. But in the scheme of things, that really does not matter. We have to put time into what really matters and don't make up and like, have you ever read like a headline and then when you read the substance of it, the headline is totally different? Like there was this person on Facebook, and he only read the headline for something. But me being the student that I am, I read the entire story. So I said, do you think it's really helping people by making a conclusion based on headlines? Like we kind of assume that they're making headlines and it's actually telling us something. So you see in the contract, they can give you a headline for that area, and you just go boom, 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 and you're only reading the headers. It's like the headlines on a story, but you're not getting the details. I knew that somebody would know it. Thank you, Abnormal Justice. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me once, it's still shame on me. I should have known better. That's the way I feel. That's the way I want y'all to feel, right? Abnormal Justice, because this discussion is about not getting fooled the first time. But we do learn a lot from the stuff that hurts. Like, I had a lease or office lease one time, and all of a sudden someone wanted my office. Like they could get a bigger space leased out if I would give up my office. But I had just renewed my lease before they met these people that wanted my office, my corner office with the windows and everything. And they said, we'll lease this whole thing if we can get that. So they said, oh, yeah, I only have to give her 30 days. And that's how I discovered that they could kick me out. All they have to do is give me 30 days. Isn't that something? No reimbursement for change of address, no offer to move me down the hall, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Nope. So I said, like, if you're gonna stick by this, I'm gonna see you in court. Cause then, they wanted to nickel and dime me and everything so that they wouldn't have to even give me my deposit back. And I think I had like been a customer with them, a good customer, because I wouldn't have even still been in there if I wasn't a good customer. We don't have no options. We had to pay ours. So it was like they couldn't depend on me not to pay. So thank God. So they had to do this. And they saw it in their fine print. All they had to do was give me 30 days. And then they said, we're going to nickel and dime her on the other stuff. Tell her she went over in the conference room by this amount, this and that, da da da. So they just, tried to do all the math. Yeah, girlfriend, that thing, that weather alert. If y'all in Virginia, be careful outside. I feel safe inside. But my grandma will come in here and turn all this off. There's no lightning though. Well, we got that severe storm alert. Oh, nobody's on the road. Please, y'all, be safe. But they did that. So I'm not the type. I'm trying to avoid court. That's what we do. We don't want to be going in. But I said, I'll see you in court. And the guy said, is that a threat? I said no. And he wasn't. He was from like some other country. He did his English as a second language, and he's telling me, is that a threat? And I said, no, it's a promise. I'll see you in court. And I took him to court, and the judge said, the contract does say on page 10, paragraph 5, whatever, this and that, it's way, way back in there. If whatsoever reason they wants to get rid of you, they can. And the judge said, yeah, this has happened to me before. I feel your pain. And he looked over at the guy and he said, but this is a very honest woman. I had emails, I communicated with him. His wife was talking ugly and did reply all, was talking about we're not going to give her a dime and this and that. She's crazy. She thinks that we're going to do right, basically. And she did a reply all. So I took that to the judge too. And he said that, Miss Bryan has been honest. She's been a good customer for you. And you're not going to nickel and dime her on her, her deposit. You're going to give her a deposit. The judge ended up getting me more back than my dumb lawyer that was his lawyer's friend. And they all know they can't take cases from people, but in a way, I believe a conflict of interest can also exist between the lawyers knowing each other. I had to go in there and present my own. I brought a witness from one of their employees that was going to talk about how toxic that a lady that used to work for them. I brought her as a witness. The judge was like, no, I don't need it. I don't need it. She was ready. Yep. A strong white lady too. She was ready to go in my defense. And I think she knew stuff that they had said about me, and she was ready to say it that I didn't even know. I never asked her. I just said, would you be willing to help me with this? And she was on it. I asked a sister that would work there that they had fired. Would you be willing to help me? I'll pay you for your time to come to court, travel, I'll reimburse you for whatever expenses you have, this and that, And she said, no, I can't, I'm scared. I said, so anyway, I won as far as like getting my deposit. But as far as that contract, it was there. They could do what they did. It was in there. And I don't remember really reading any of it, honestly. I just knew I was leasing an office, and I just never thought about that worst case scenario that they could do something to inconvenience me. I was too worried about making sure that I paid what I owed them. I'm telling you, self esteem, confidence is very, very important because when you feel more confident about yourself, you worry more about what they gonna do to you than about you doing what you got to do. But I believe that as Black entrepreneurs, we have to be very careful what we accept into our consciousness. If I had been programmed to know, hey, you're a good customer, you pay on time, they need your business, this and that from day one, I would have been checking on, oh, well, look, if I'm not here, I could be somewhere else. It's almost like if we're not careful, we will accept the ideology that they're doing us a favor when they allow us to pay them. When you're feeding them, Black or not, we're feeding them. And I remember I hired this person that had been in corporate America most of his life, and it was very hard for him to understand the food chain of AfroEconomics, JB Bryan Financial Group. And so he would answer to the product before he would answer to the customer. And I was like, I'm going to tell you, bro, I know you've been working in corporate America a long time, but you don't answer to corporate here. You answer to the customer. That's our food chain. Our customers feed us. We got to remember, but our mind can really handicap you. And I have not really realized that how many of us, have been handicapped into thinking you don't have to read that because they're doing you a favor. Think about when you go and buy a car. And I have to tell clients, like, let me look at it before you sign up paperwork. And I have saved people thousands by looking at it and saying it's a ridiculous interest rate. No, this person has great credit. Why are you charging them the interest rate that would be charged for somebody who can't afford this and does not have great credit? Why are you doing it? And the customer had no idea that they were doing it wrong. And they were like, we just try. Then they get all embarrassed and get mad because you looked at the contract, actually read it. I would say I do better before, I realized this weakness. I would do better in looking out for you than I would do in taking time to look out for myself. And so when you're, and that's a beautiful thing, when I'm serving you. But most people that you're working with, unfortunately, ain't putting you before their interests. So you have to start looking at what you're doing. Yes. It's not even a mutual exchange, okay? Like, you know what I'm saying? But I know what you're saying. It's a give and a take. But generally, they're winning a lot more than you're winning. No, you're just getting a product. You're paying for the product that they already paid for. So they're getting their money back. You're really helping them out and they're making a premium. You're just getting the product. And if it's in most of these things, you're getting something that's declining. And then, like in that contract I signed for that space, there was no reward for me. All those years of being there consistently for them and paying their bills for them because I'm helping them, but they get to the end of it and they don't feel any type of allegiance to me. It's, oh, well, we said we could just give you 30 days and that's it. Yes, yes. A cancel with a 30-day notice and don't have a reason. Exactly. Out of contracts, have the 30-day cancel a lot. Yes, 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 yes. Exactly. Thank you, Miss Williams, that writes contracts for a living. Exactly. You know about that. 30-day notice. So I had to buy new letterhead, new everything. It ended up being great because I wanted a better address anyway. No, but it is because when that stuff, and it was like right there at the holidays as well. But you know, when you own your own business, easily you can give up on holidays. Easily. Easily. I'm 30 years deep in this now, though. But you just kind of start saying, like, you know, and then that's why the divorce rate is so hard. Like, you know, talking about contracts, you know, marriage is a serious contract. That's the difference. That's the difference between dating and marriage, the contract. Marriage is a contract. Marriage, you are actually responsible for that other human being, for them right there going forward. They're your responsibility until you're divorced. You are their next of kin. You hold the plug. Something happened to them, you can decide, pull the plug. You are their next kin. And I think a lot of people don't get that. Like this morning, we're in the gym, and my trainer was like, "Yeah, JB getting ready for Worlds. I got a world competition for track and field at the, you know, that what later this month." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, going down there. I'm gonna see you. I'm gonna meet you saying Bolt. Say bring him back, you know." And this lady said, "He's married. He's married. He has children." I said, "He's not married." She said, "Well, he has a woman." I said, "Yeah, but he's not married." And everybody started laughing. You know, there is a huge difference. And I said, like my mother used to say, my parents were married 58 years. You talking about till death did them part. That's marriage. They were married. Married. My mom said she met my dad. He had a girlfriend when they met in college. That's a girlfriend. She wasn't like, you know, where we actually now, I think, which is shocking to me, but I believe as a person who has survived divorces, people don't respect your marriage. I had several women, you know what I mean, who are very willing to sleep with my husbands without hesitation. But I had a contract on him. It's a contract. They did not care. But if we were single and God forbid I decided I was going to live with him, that would be different. Because that's just living together. That's just doing stuff. But it is totally different. That's right, Mr. Harris. It's a covenant, even more than a contract. But on this little worldly place, it's a contract. That's why you got to get in that divorce court in order to get out of there. And we don't respect the covenant and the contract of marriage the way we should be. Everything, a lot of stuff would be different, especially in our community, if people would respect. I would never have ever had to go through one divorce, not ever, because I respected my contract, my covenant. But if everybody doesn't respect that contract, you know what I'm saying? Then the contract has to be gone through court to get that covenant, that contract, that marriage broken. Because it is signed like that. You did. You signed that marriage license. Maybe the marriage license needs to put on there what you're signing. It'd be totally different if it said, like, you know what I'm saying? If I get some calls from some woman about you or some man about you, then you know you have broken this covenant, you have broken this contract, you know what I'm saying? And it has, you know, just like the word says, you have terms for being able to get out of that contract, that covenant. Yes, so true, right, Justice? They don't. And I think that the young lady that I was explaining to her that having a woman and having children is not the same as being married got really mad at me. She was really mad at me, and she may be in something, but I think it's very important that we understand the difference. And I did a Wednesday session on that before about the different, you know, that what the advantages, disadvantages of being married. And marriage is totally different. This person has to take care of you. You become disabled. You're their responsibility. If you're just together, then that has nothing to do with, they don't have any response. They can choose to. They can choose to take care of you. Even with marriage, they can choose, but you can actually take that person to court that they are not taking care of you and they have to take care of you. It's called spousal support. Now, people can choose not to do that, but it is a lot harder for someone who is just courting or living together to get spousal support because they're not a spouse. They don't have that contract. He says, Ms. Williams, a contract writer, said, why does it take one sheet to get into that covenant, to that contract, to that marriage, and then 100 pages to get out? I know that's right. Right. But it needs, those 100 pages need to be those pages signed. Like, maybe like when you get married, you need to like send out like a copy of the marriage license to everybody. Like we really need to do a movement in our community about how to get people to respect the institution of a marriage more, to just respect it again. Remember when slaves would fight to be with each other, saying that they would take the husband from the wife, and even then, like, we really had to have a covenant relationship, because I don't think that historically, Mr. Harris, you can help me, they allowed us to even get married. So that's when we started doing the jump the broom, to show our contract, our covenant, our commitment. But some things to think about when you do just a normal, contract. I want us to think about it. And then it says, and then I want to go over those. There was these 5 things that were in that survey. It said contracts are an everyday part of work and personal life now. The second point, most people sign contracts without knowing what's in them. A third point, the top reasons they found that people did not read contracts is that they felt that they were too long and complicated. And the fourth point is that uncertainty around contracts stresses the people out, they say. But it could, and contracts now, as people see, like with people that are working like for the federal government, it's become a big news story. So the whole, this is against our contract, you're breaking our contract and everything. When it comes down to it, they're going to realize there's a paragraph that says they can let you go if they want to. There is absolutely nothing, as Ms. Williams, the contract writer, says, there is absolutely no way, no contract will ever say that someone has to keep you around. It's just not going to happen. No, they, and they say this is the proper way, because they're going to figure out a way so that you don't have to get unemployment. Then they can have all these warnings and things like that. But that stuff is for their interests, so that when they get rid of you, you don't qualify for unemployment. But sometimes just getting laid off could be in your best interest, because then you at least could qualify for unemployment. And then, in the federal government, they had this great big breakdown that someone said that they didn't qualify for severance pay, and they could not pay them severance pay. That hurt. That hurt. And that's where I was saying, even on the Carl Nelson show earlier this week, that the government union is supposed to protect you from that your contract is followed. That's where the unions come in. The unions negotiate the contract. The unions understand the contract. The unions will have people like Ms. Williams on file to take care of the contract. But then all of a sudden, you have these people who come along and say, no severance pay, is if they couldn't just let you go without severance pay. So we have to think, who exactly is looking out for our best interests? Read the contract. Read the contract for what the union was supposed to do when you signed up for the union. Read it. So when you're thinking about signing something, look, and now I got all of us thinking about marriage and relationships, but this is true. When you're thinking about signing a contract, things for you to consider. First, who are the parties that are involved? Like, look, y'all know I'm no lawyer and I ain't got no law degree, but I'm gonna tell you, I encourage my clients to bring stuff to me to review that, and I save them thousands because we're catching stuff that they would have to go and pay thousands to get it reviewed. Now, there are some things that we do need to get someone else involved in. Like if you're going to sell your business and stuff like that, we're going to get someone else involved in it, but you still benefit from me being there to look out for your best interests. Because we're looking at the same things. Like I am regulated just like a lawyer is regulated, in that we have to do things that are in our client's best interest. But I have seen lawyers who are referred to the person by the other party and people do it. And I go, that's a conflict of interest. Have I ever seen one? You don't take a legal referral from the person who you're doing the deal with. We got to get our own. You got to get someone that's uniquely for you. And then, like I said, then when I got in court, I thought it was somebody uniquely for me. And then all of a sudden, they up there, yeah, Bryce, saw you at the golf course Friday. I'll see you Saturday. Blah, blah, blah. You know, you don't know what you got. You don't know what you got. So you get someone else, even out of that, you get your, advisor who's been doing this thing and watching us get done wrong repeatedly. Just crazy, y'all. But please benefit from my experience. It don't make sense for me to go through all these 30 years and we not get help. As I was telling a member yesterday, she's going through a legal matter. And I said, sis, I can help you with this. I can help you with this. You're not alone. I can help you with this. Help the client get a settlement from her job. And the most beautiful thing about it for you is I don't get no money from it. You get to keep all the money. She got the settlement from the job. She keeps all the money. Because I'm what? I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a brain working for you. Ain't nobody taking part of this and that. Like, this, But sometimes we need it. Sometimes we need to get outside involved, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just need to address the issues. So who are the parties involved? So I'm looking at the client's paperwork, and they had the client's name wrong. Simple as that. She had gone to a lawyer to get that. You know what I'm saying? That right there, they would have charged her $1,000 just because they discovered that her name was wrong. They realized that. How do I realize it? Because it's another person looking at it. You're looking over it. I'm looking at it. I'm really looking at it. The terms, look at the terms and conditions. No, read the entire contract carefully. Focus on the terms and the conditions to understand the obligations and the rights. Like our client was about to hire a builder, an architect to help her with the building of her property. And then in the contract, there was an arbitration agreement that if the architect did something wrong, she couldn't just sue them. She couldn't just sue them. They were trying to get her to do an arbitration agreement. And I was like, with their architects association, and I was like, you don't want to have to do that. And you don't want to sign. You can accept something that say, it's available to me to do this, but if you want to hire your own one, you can. And then you put it like that. But she had not really even looked at it. She hadn't thought about it. The verify the scope of the work of the services or the property, or um make sure, like, what does this entail, like, the one, I had a client like that. They had the house on one deed, but they had another part of the property on another deed. So it didn't matter until it mattered, and it ended up really mattering. So you want to make sure that you look at the entire scope of what we're doing, what we have, especially when you're talking about like grown folk getting married, grown folk with some people have a certain situation, another person has another situation, like, and the whole how things are going to impact the future. All these things need to be thought about when we're looking at contracts or making purchases and signing for things, and looking how things are going to be titled, co-signing, co-signing. Remember when somebody asked me one time to co-sign, and I said, I can give you money, deposit, so you can pay me the deposit back, but I ain't attaching to no 5 years of nothing with nobody. I've been married and never co-signed nothing. So I don't know. I definitely don't know nothing about co-signing with people you're not married to. That's something. But be very, very careful what we sign. Remember that movie? And was his license plate was co-signed for. It was a comedy. Tommy Davidson or something, a movie. And what I think one of the Wayne brothers was in it, but it was crazy. And the girl, he had co-signed for this Corvette with this girl. Read the entire contract. Yes. If I'm reading the physical contract, I will cross out and reword. Yes, good for you. And do you hear me? That's right. Then sign and hand it to them. I know that's right. I know that's right. And we don't think we can. Mm. But I bet that Miss Williams, that's why now they got you doing stuff and it's in the pad. They don't print it out. It's in the pad. So you're just going through this little computer thing at the counter, and it's just there. And then you just, you were talking to your son about the history of jumping the room. I love it. Yes, indeed. But yeah, so you're signing stuff in the pad. How do you make those edits that Miss Williams talking about? You know, as she's saying, if they give me the physical, then I can do that. Oh, no, no, no. I need 60 days if something happened. I need a 60-day. I want a 60-day notice, this and that, or you're going to have to pay me the difference. And they're like, nah, in here, and the pad, it only has 30 days. I don't know. I have to talk to my boss about it. Talk to your boss about it. See you later. Sometimes we act like we got to have it so bad that we won't walk away. And you have to be willing to walk away from things. Yeah. Should a trust be revocable or irrevocable for a couple? That's great. That's great, because irrevocable basically means there's no way to divorce it. And the tax situations on it are very different. But it can't be broken. Irrevocable. Revocable means I can change it, and we can change all the terms, and we can move it around. So the answer to that is it depends. It depends. Amen. Ask for that printed copy. That's right. You know, don't we can't allow them to make us feel like we're being difficult. Like, just today, I was this morning, I was on the phone with the client that we were talking to the IRS, and the person at the IRS did not know what she was talking about. She was just gone. So I was like, we really need to press her about getting to the other department, but she said we couldn't get to the other department. They're going to make you feel like you feel bad. I didn't press it because I have learned that I can't press it because some clients get mad if I press it, even if it's in their best interest. They don't like that. Some don't like it. Some love it. You know what I'm saying? So I have to kind of decide who. So I said, I just text, this is what I would like for you to do. But the client was not, you know what I mean, comfortable with that. And I think that that's what happens with contracts a lot. Like, we know this makes no sense, but we need to do what we got to do, so we just do it. And it doesn't matter till it matters. Yeah. And you're not, because you're not being difficult, but they know that you're being difficult. And here you are, like, you're in there, and then the co-workers, the other people, they're looking at her like, look at Miss Williams. She's coming in here asking for us to print it out. They know nobody's ever asked for us to print it out. And then they'll tell you, oh, nobody's ever asked for that. And I'm just like, so literally, I mean, it is possible, because it says 70, it's large percentage of people are signing stuff. We're not reading it all. And like I was saying with that contract, at least that caught up with me. I never read to that page. It was like, 10 pages back that they had 30 days. They purposely didn't put that up front, that if we want to break this lease, we can get out whenever we want. I'm too focused on what I got to do. Isn't that something? So, yes, I feel that it's great for us to get help. It's like holding me back from using everything that I have to help you is like having a lawyer that doesn't defend you properly, and you're on trial for a murder you didn't commit. No. And the lawyer can get in a lot of trouble, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot. That's why our community is over criminalized, because a lot of lawyers have not looked out for our best interest, because we don't have the money. It's connected to economics. So they're doing it, being paid by the state, and they get confused thinking that, well, since I'm getting government money to take care of you, then I'll just, you know what I'm saying? I don't, you don't really matter. And it's only, I mean, literally, that's like a conflict of interest, really, because the prosecutor is getting paid by the state or the city or whatever, and then you don't have any money, so then your lawyer is getting paid for. That's why it's people who actually have money, even if they're a criminal, they're less likely to spend any time in jail because of the economics. Exactly. People just do not expect you to make them do their job. And we should not have to make people do their job, but that's where we are. And in exchange for that, we have to make sure that we take our time and read stuff. Like, even like when you go and you get someone to prepare your taxes, and I tell my clients, let me look at it before. Let me look at it. Let me look at your taxes before you sign it. And they go, well, when I went to the accountant or the tax prep place, they told me come in, and they wouldn't show me a copy. They wouldn't let me look at it before I signed it. But ultimately, you're responsible for that. So they're saying, that they can make a draft copy, and they'll have draft through it, and it can't be sent in. They can do something. They have really no right to just tell you, no, you cannot review that. You're not being difficult. And if you tell them, God forbid, that I want JB Bryan to review it, oh, it's over. I have found errors in clients' tax returns. Ask the accountant to do the amended return, and they refuse to do it. We should, before you sign that return and they tell you that you can't review it, you ask them, Will you file the amendment for free if I find an error and I need an amended return? Because I found thousands, and you would be surprised at how many people sign off on their tax return, pay money that is falsely needed. Thank you so much, Mr. Harris. They will pay money that is not proper. And we will say, I have had people say to me, I know it's wrong, but we'll just get it right next year. But this costs you thousands. This wrong costs you thousands. If we could collect on all the money that we have given away, we spent a lot of time talking about what was taken, but let's control what we can control, and we could stop giving away our blessings. We're giving it away. It says our people shall perish due to lack of knowledge of God's greatness. If we knew how great he is, how protected we are, we would stand up for truth and never back down. Never back down. But it is darn hard, isn't it? So, because we're always looking for, like, it's easy. It's just so much easier to just accept the lie. Oh my goodness. Look at the terms. Look at the rates. Look at what happens if you have something late payments or anything, what the interest rate is. Look at the duration, will be the fifth point. How long does this last? When can I get out? How do I get out? The start date, the renewal date, the end date. Termination. Understand the conditions under which the contract can be terminated. How do I get out of this? The review any clauses related to what you're responsible for, any liability that you have, any limitations that you have. Like, people take jobs and they find out that you can't work for a competitor within a certain amount of miles. Does it have a compete clause in it? That that you can't within 2 years, you're working for CNN and you want to work for, another network, and it says, no, you can't do that. And they just got mad at you. I don't think, these people could just go from one network to another if they wanted to. That's why that guy, we've seen a lot of them, like, they lose their job, and then they have to create their own show. It's a lot because they have that non-compete. You can't leave and then just flip over to the other one. So that soon they're going to start saying, and you can't have your own podcast either. And you can't do nothing using your likeness either. And you can't do, they're going to, oh yeah. And somebody's signing it right now. What did a New Edition say about, like, how bad their contract was? I'm going to tell you one thing, though. People talk about James Brown, but James Brown was a smart businessman. He had his estate right. Now, he had married a woman that was still married to someone else. So she started fighting his estate, but he had his estate right. And she still didn't get any. The child got it. The child got what the child was supposed to get. And since it was a little child that they had, the child got it. But it is oversought by the courts so that the money has to be spent on the child, versus getting money directly to her. But even, with his songs and his rights to his songs and, a lot of stuff like that, it's amazing sometimes, that we can develop these kind of preconceived notions that, like, the people aren't smart. But when you really look behind the scenes, like, oh, this person knew what they were doing. They understood the business. That's all that he did. And then the ones that you assume are so smart end up being the ones, like, I can't believe it. Like, I was shocked that Aretha Franklin had all 3-4 different wills. Her family ended up getting negative nothing. all this money owed to the IRS. She was brought up in the household. I mean, she wasn't poor. She didn't come. James Brown came from nothing. So you're just, talk, this man, nothing, less than nothing. So the information and having the information and then using it is totally different, right? Confidentiality, privacy policies, things I want you to look at. Look for how amendments to the contract can be made. If you want to change it, what you need to do, how you need to sign it. Did you use your middle name or not your middle name? Did it put junior on it, senior? Did they have it wrong? Did they spell your name wrong? If you don't do it, what can they do? I remember like one commercial loan that I had, and the commercial loan said that if you don't miss, like it was like if you miss 1 or 2 payments, like the bank won't play in, whatever it was, we're coming in and we're taking everything. Even they said they even will come and take the file cabinets. They're like, we'll take it all. Needless to say, I ain't missed no payments. I read that contract. They coming in, especially when it's equity, like say rent, but like all that they knew, they probably were like sitting there like praying. I hope this black girl don't make this payment because they got equity in that building. Oh my goodness, yes. Just sit there and just wait. Miss it if you want to. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that thing. We gonna take it over. Equity. Be careful because you can sign a contract and they can come and take something that you have a lot of ownership in it. You only have like say 100,000 left and it's worth $1 million. That $100,000 loan can jack it all up and they make you sell to get that back. And by the time you get what's left for you after fees and legal fees and this and that, and interest and extensions and you get only 400,000, say, of your equity. Just because of that little bit that was left. So debt, like we think, debt contracts and we get all excited about it. And all, like I remember like looking at a SBA loan contract versus a commercial loan contract. And the SBA guaranteed loan contract will chew your equity up. I said, by the grace of God, thank you that I was able to get approved for a regular commercial loan. But we just sit out there and go to these little SBA workshops and the little classes and stuff like they doing us a favor. And they're taking they want life insurance on you. They want 25% at that time, 25% of equity in the property. Then they're also like, then they were like, if every 90 days, the interest rate could be adjusted. So you don't even know what your payment is going to be. So you could go to a bank, a commercial loan, and this is the fee for the loan. This is your payment for the next 5 years or, whatever, 10 years, whatever. It's not going to be 30 most of the time, not like commercial, but you got to look at each offer. And even if say somebody took the SBA because they didn't read it right and they never saw that it adjusts every 90 days or look, it might be every 60 days. Now it might be 30 days, but they didn't even read it. And did not understand that their payments, and especially in today's environment, starts going up, up, up. Because the Federal Reserve won't lower interest rates. And they don't care because that's how they make money. Send the contract. So, and then also a final point to remember is after we go through all this, we're looking at it together. And I say, you know what, we need to get a lawyer involved in this because of, whatever might be, whatever reason. We have to realize that sometimes it is necessary to get the legal professional involved. But when we go to them, we know what we're doing. We know what we need. We understand. We see the errors because a lot of it is you got to be smart. We have to be the one to tell them why I keep pulling on my lip. There's like a piece of skin, and me pulling that skin is not a productive thing to do ever, even if I'm not on camera. But I keep pulling that piece of skin. Drink more water. Drink more water, JB. I need that in my contract to myself. Drink more water. But that if you are, in any situation, when we get them involved and we're going to them and we have gone through all this, we've prepared it, all the pages, you see where the problems are, and then you go, look at this. This is some things that I've noticed. What do you think? How do you think it's best that I address this? Or what do you think that I could do? And and then they tell us what we need to do with that. Like that issue was about like the irrevocable or revocable. We decide, okay, we want an irrevocable trust because I know this is where I want it to be, and this is it, and I know I'm never going to change my mind. Then we go to the lawyer, or we use a template, or whatever is best. But let's just say we go to an estate attorney, and we get the irrevocable trust established. But we went through the steps to make sure we know exactly what we want. And then when you get it from the lawyer, you still have to check it because they make a lot of mistakes. They make a lot of mistakes. I had a client that went through a big mistake and it didn't matter until it was too late. And there was no way she would have known. They would have known. Maybe if they said, look at this, but they wouldn't have known that there was an error that was made at a home closing. So yes, mistakes get made. So be that person that they know is going to check behind them, and people will do better for you. Know that I gotta do this because I know Mr. Harris is going to look at this. He's going to expect that, he's going to want me to send a copy of that or this and that. Be that person. Be that Mr. Harris. Be that Ms. Williams, who they know, like, oh, nah, I don't want that. No, we're gonna need to change that around. What's that rate? I remember one time they gave me this rate, and they said it was they didn't call it interest rate, they called it a money factor, I think. So then I called a client and I said, what interest rate is comparable to this money factor? Because I think they use money factors with leases. And then I had asked the same question at the dealership back then, like, so money factor, so what's that mean? What interest rate is that? And then they said, that's around blah, blah, blah. They were off, way off. It was like triple the interest rate similarity than what they were referring to. And I cut the deal because I just don't deal with lawyers. I mean, excuse me, don't deal with liars. The car dealership had lied to me about the interest rate similarity to what money factor. So you take the time so that you can check that type of thing. Don't just go in there and just sign it and move forward. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing it again. You can create your own trust using the legal software. And it will ask you the questions. You're basically using templates, and then it will tell you what you need to do and get it notarized and things like that. Yes. But I think it would be worth it to first make sure that you need a trust, because I'm gonna tell you, the overwhelming number of people that I know that have trust, they don't need them. But there was a full court press on getting Black folk to set up trust. They made a lot of money off us. And how it's supposed to help us, I do not know. So first, it's about determining, do you really need it? How is it going to help? What are you going to use it for? And there was this whole thing one time about You could take the trust and it would turn you into another entity and you put everything into the trust and that's that. But if you're using your same social security number, you're not hiding anything. If hiding is the key, this is you're not this is not this is not hiding. Your social is your social. And they don't care what you use it for. They just need that social and you're not hiding. They know that's you. That's where that whole business identity movement came from. That everything, like people were setting up LLCs and then they didn't want to show who was behind the LLC, and then they didn't, reveal enough information about themselves. So now there is this need to everyone to know who they are that's behind the entity. Like in my business, it's exempt from that requirement because I'm licensed. They already know. They got my fingerprints. They got me totally in the system. I'm regulated. I have to do this type of criteria. I am fully identified. But for a lot of businesses, they're not regulated like that. So registered investment advisory firms may be exempted, but is the hair salon, is the plumber, is all the other businesses that make this world go around. They're not exempt, and they want to know who's behind it. So but it's understandable. It's understandable because people who don't do the right thing make it hard for people who are doing the right thing. Mm. But make sure that you reach out to me if you need any additional assistance on contracts and signing. But the bottom line, the moral of this story is to sign everything. I mean, read everything before you sign, and that we are signing a whole lot of stuff and we're not reading it according to the survey. No, we have to be more diligent about making sure we understand as business owners, as consumers, as leaders at work, people who have a job. And then there are some ways like you could start, they have these new AI apps that are coming out that can actually review contracts for you. I guess it would be in trying to focus in on what you're trying to make sure it does. I guess it might be able to say, please review this contract for conflicts of interest, I guess, or please review this for lease termination clauses. Like it will kind of bottom line is we have to read it, but you could also use some of the screening software to help you look for hot areas that we might be looking for. We might be checking out termination. We might be checking out cancellation provisions, but we just have to be smart about what we're asking it to look for and let technology help us as well. But that's the movement. That's the movement to use it, especially So if you have any additional questions or any questions, thank you all so much for your comments. I feel so much better, so much more connected when I can look, and see y'all. I didn't put it up here what y'all were saying, but I can see this. How you doing? And I can see your comments and everything. I just have put some of them up there, but I appreciated it because last week I could not I couldn't see that. So we haven't figured out like what it was, but I was like, I'm praying that this week I'll be able to communicate with you better. And we did. And they don't give up, keep reading, keep asking questions, stand up for yourself, and be kind. And I just had to make sure that I remember that just because they're bothered by my question doesn't mean that I'm not being kind. Be kind. Asking a question, if it bothers them, that's on them. but just ask the question. And then people say, well, it's not what you ask, it's how you ask it. Nonsensical way of getting out of doing their job. You don't have to worry about how I asked the question, as long as I did not disrespect you. How is me asking a question disrespectful to you? But that's where we are, unfortunately, in society. Like you, Ms. Williams said, a lot of people just don't want to do their job. But don't just sign stuff so that they'll be comfortable. And if you are uncomfortable, definitely don't sign it. Don't sign it. It's like going on a date with somebody and they try to touch you and you don't want them to touch you. Use that same rule, like, no, and move on. Mm-mm. Thank you for you. Thank you. Greetings to you, Miss Bullock. Hi, Mr. Blake. Oh, thank you. God does everything on time. Yes, he does. Yes, indeed. More water. Yeah. More water. You're right, Mr. Blake. Yes, indeed. I thank God for you. Thank you. Knowing I'm naturally divine. And yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are kind. Kindness will move us forward. Yes, it will. No, thank you. And thank you for your kindness. No, but don't let anyone ever make you feel that asking a question and standing up for yourself is not kind, because it is. You have all the right in the world to walk away, to ask for a printout, to let me think about this, and all of those things. And that's not rude. They're going to look at you. I remember one time they tried to sell me a timeshare, and I said no. And they kept pressing me and pressing me and pressing me. And I said, no, I don't know. I'll think about it. No, I'll think of it. And they want you to do it right then. I probably would have had that bill today. That was over 30 years ago. They were trying to give me this up in Massanutten. Ain't nobody got time for that. I ain't never been up there again since then, mostly because of that man trying to pressure me. Probably, but it wasn't all that. I'm not that person. Vacation for me is finally getting a chance to watch a demand movie that I pay for anyway. Watch it free for you. Look, I love cable. Sit outside, get the sun. That's vacation. But don't sign a contract on somebody else trying to tell you what your priorities should be. You don't need it, don't get it. I mean, he was really mad. I was frightened. I was in my 20s when that happened. I was frightened. I don't even do those type of things now. Like, you get the free weekend, I'd rather pay for it. Honestly. Don't need it. I don't like that. Y'all stay positive. Love y'all. Talk to you soon. And I am JB Bryan, President and Chief Investment Officer of JB Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm and the home of AfroEconomics, established 1995. 30 years, March 10th, coming up. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.